it's worth remembering that this president was never given an orderly transition of power. His presidency was never accepted. There were no calls for unity. There were no calls for healing. So while every legal vote is counted, let us not forget the inexcusable transition or lack thereof that President Trump had to endure in 2016 and for years into his presidency.
That was Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, yesterday at the White House. Let's bring Kayleigh in now in a different role as Trump 2020 senior campaign advisor. Kayleigh, thank you so much for being here. I think
Thank you for joining.
Absolutely. I think you spoke for a lot of people yesterday. The frustration, the rush to say this vote count absolutely now it's done. There's no evidence. Wrap it up. It's over. But when you consider what was said for years about a duly elected president, the contrast just doesn't add up for people.
Pete, it doesn't add up. We know that Peter Strzok was going after this president before he was even elected. We know once the president got elected, that's when you had Elizabeth Warren saying, let's send the Government Accountability Office after this president. You had 70 Democrats who wouldn't attend his inauguration, and then the Russia hoax investigation continued with Robert Mueller, ending in an exoneration. That's how they honored the will of the American people then, and the media aided and abetted them every step of the way with false headlines, absolutely defamatory. They won Pulitzers for their Russia hoax reporting. It was wrong. It was not an orderly transition that he was given. And now, if voters simply ask questions about a fraudulent mail-in ballot system, we are told that we are crazy and subverting democracy. The hypocrisy is real.
How do you get past it, Kayleigh? Because, I mean, these reporters were digging into what Carter Page and George Papadopoulos had for lunch and whether it had Russian dressing on it. That's how obsessed they were with that story. Yet you could present a lot of evidence, whether it's data evidence or physical ballot evidence, and they seem to not want to hear it. How do you break through that if and when that evidence is provided?
Yeah, we break through that by going to the courts. That's why they exist. It's the third branch of government, the justice system. We have 234 pages of affidavits in Michigan of voters in one county saying, this is what I observed. We have voters in Pennsylvania saying, I showed up to vote, was told I couldn't cast my ballot because there is a mail-in ballot that was cast on my behalf that wasn't cast by me. These are real claims. They're systematic claims. And our justice system is where that will play out. And that's something that the media cannot get in the way of. They can try to hide it, but the American people are smart. The 73 million people who showed up to vote for this president, the most ever votes for a sitting president, they have a voice. We will be heard. The Tea Party movement made their voice heard. The Trump movement is now making our voice heard again, and we don't need the media by our side. We can do it without them.
Kayleigh, evidence is gathered over time. It's gathered through discovery, and then through that evidence, a court would then decide whether or not to take the case. What is the timeline right now that the campaign is looking at? We heard Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani say this is an opening argument. A lot of people were taken aback by that. Is it a part of a new argument that the campaign is making, different than the previous and earlier on legal challenges?
No, the previous legal challenges are ongoing. In fact, in Pennsylvania, I've made the case about the equal protection claim where voters in Democrat counties got to cure their ballots, but not in Republican counties. Well, in fact, in a court yesterday, a Commonwealth court in Allegheny County, there was a suit by a third party brought, and they won on the grounds of equal protection. Of course, it's going to go up to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court where it's Democrat, and they will reject it. But we've got to continue fighting this. The federal courts are the path, and hopefully up to the Supreme Court, because voter fraud is real, and they seized on a pandemic and created an electoral epidemic, one that was inexcusable, a system that should never have happened.
Kayleigh, real quick exit question. A lot of focus has been on signatures and mail-in ballots and mail-out and that you just talked about inside the legal cases. Is the campaign prepared to make a larger one about electronic fraud, that potentially votes were changed? We hear a lot about that. Is the campaign going in that direction as well?
Yeah, and we know that Dominion, in that one county, that 7,000 votes were changed, and we're looking into that. So certainly looking at the evidence there, but the equal protection claim is the really strong one and a constitutional one, and I think the winning one at this moment.
All right. Kayleigh McEnany, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, I'm going to toss it over to Will right over here for some headlines.
All right.